If you ever felt ugly in high school, this video is for you. I was overlooked and pretty much invisible, and yes, it hurt so bad, especially in high school, but it honestly shaped me into the woman I am today. And I want to share today my experience with you with being ugly in high school and how it affected me and who I am today. Okay, so my experience of feeling ugly in high school and why I felt ugly in high school. In high school, I genuinely thought that I was ugly. And looking back, it wasn't just about how I looked, it was how I felt inside my body. My skin, and looking around at other people around me and how they looked. I wouldn't say I necessarily had a very chubby face. My cheeks just made me feel like a kid, right? A little kid, while other girls in my year level had a more mature, structured face. And I would always compare myself to why do their faces look a lot more mature when they're the same age as me, but I look like a little kid with chubby cheeks and pimples all over my face. I could never understand why. On top of all of that, I also had braces, which I completely know that they're normal. Every kid, not every kid, but a lot of kids get braces, especially during their adolescence. But at the time of having braces in high school, to me it was just another reason to hide my smile, because there's always food stuck in my teeth, or when I would talk I would spit because of the braces. It just wasn't a vibe. Being in high school with the way I looked and felt, it just was not a vibe. And on top of all of that, I got zero, and I mean zero, male attention. I want to say that when you're young and you're in high school, you got that mentality where you just want to impress boys or girls. You're going through changes, your body's going through changes, and male attention was important to me in high school amongst many other girls. And I look back and I know it doesn't matter now, but back then it did. It genuinely did matter to me, and it crushed my ego to know that I wasn't good enough. I would watch all the pretty girls around me, like my friends and whatnot, get compliments, get flirty messages, get into relationships, losing their virginity, and I was just there feeling pretty invisible. And in a way, I was jealous. It's wrong to say, because it's not good to be jealous, but I was jealous, and I couldn't help but feel jealous, because why do they get attention and why do I have to look like the way I look like? And it sucked. It really sucked, especially being in a toxic environment like high school. And as sad as this sounds, not getting any male validation or any male attention, it made me feel like that something was wrong with me, and that I just wasn't lovable or likable enough to get guys attention, and it made me feel like maybe I'm never going to be likable or lovable, which is so sad to say. And Jack Harlow, in one of his songs, he says, "I didn't peak in high school, I'm still out here getting cuter." I had never related to something so much more than that, because I literally didn't peak until I left high school. And not peaking in high school has taught me a lot of things, which I'm going to share with you in this video, because there's so much more than just your looks. Another part of my experience I'd like to talk about is bullying. I remember being in class, right? And I remember this guy. He was kind of an asshole or a douchebag to everyone. Well, not everyone, but he was a douchebag to people that weren't to his standard, if that made sense. If he found a girl very pretty or attractive, he would treat her so differently. But he didn't find me attractive, obviously, and I felt like I got this different treatment, and I really got to see what pretty privilege is in high school. He would just always make fun of me. He'd always comment on my pimples. He would always say to me, "You've got so many pimples, you're so ugly." These horrible comments. And he wouldn't say it in front of the teacher. He would just say it walking past the hallway, and he was just a real douche towards me. And I'll never forget how that made me feel. By this point, I didn't have any self-esteem, because I'm literally watching all the girls and people around me talk to guys, have guy friends, and I felt like guys would just find me annoying, and I was actually pretty annoying in high school. Undiagnosed ADHD, but I was pretty annoying. But being ugly on top of that does not help, because like no guys were interested in being my friend or talking to me, because probably because I wasn't pretty enough, and there's no reason for them to talk to me because they don't want to get in with me. They don't want to pursue a friendship because I'm not attractive enough. So in their mind, it's literally like, what's the point talking to her? And I remember during high school as well, and this didn't happen to me in high school, but it was the period when I was in high school. I was about 15 years old, and there was this app called 𝓵𝓸𝓿𝓮 where you would live stream, and like you just do dumb shit live streaming, have fun, talk, whatever. And I was on with like a friend of mine, and I remember all the comments were saying, oh, your friend's so much hotter than you, she's so pretty, she's so good looking. And I just never forget the awkwardness between me and my friend after that, and how that made me feel. Like that really, really messed with me mentally. And till this day, I've never forgotten it, because it's so hard accepting the fact that I wasn't attractive growing up. I had to literally grow into my skin. What did I learn from all of this? I learned inner beauty versus superficial validation. I also learned empathy, kindness, and emotional strength. And I also learned how the pretty people peaked early, while I had to grow that depth. I had to grow into my skin, I had to grow into myself. I literally had to build myself, right? And that's a gift in itself. And when you've been ignored and not getting enough attention and not getting the attention you want to get, you learn to never ignore others, ever. And when you had to fight for confidence, you learn to keep that forever. Because I had to fight for it. It never came to me easily. I had to fight for that confidence. By the way, if you keep seeing me look down here and there, I've got my whole script that I wrote before this video, like dot points. So ignore that. But back then, when I was in high school, what I didn't realize was that I was literally just growing. I was becoming and I was growing. And just because I didn't peak in high school, you know, it's not good to compare yourself to other people, because everyone evolves and grows differently. Some people will literally look the same all throughout high school and then, you know, not really change that much. But some people, it's like a different process. Some people get pimples, some people are a bit more fluffier. You know, everyone evolves and grows differently. And I had to keep in mind that my awkward phase wasn't a flaw. It was just a transition. I wasn't ugly, I was just becoming. Okay, and my last part of this video is the glow up I had after all of this. The glow up, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And I remember once I left high school, that's when like everything changed for me, right? That's where I had like my glow up. I got my braces off. I suddenly lost weight in my face. I ended up going on 𝓵𝓸𝓿𝓮 to get rid of my pimples, because my self-esteem got so bad at one point in high school that I literally didn't even go to school for a week, because I just did not want to go to school because of how my face looked. And I just felt so alone with it all, because I felt like no one else had the problem I had. Like I didn't know how to confide in other people, because all of my friends around me didn't have this problem like I did. And now that I'm older and I actually get attention from guys and people, and I've had situations where I've been in like, I guess, pretty privilege, where I've got things cheaper because of the way I looked or whatever, right? Not to sound superficial, but I've seen both sides of the coin. I know what it's like to feel invisible, and I know what it's like to be seen. But now, because I get this attention, I've learned to not be obsessed with it, like obsessed with getting attention, because I know what it's like to be invisible. And I think that's what taught me what really matters in life. One thing I've learned throughout this whole glow up process and like being ugly in high school is that, and I don't mean this in a rude way at all, I'm just saying this based on what I've seen, right? This is just my personal opinion. But there's so many people you meet, like boys and girls, where they're so good looking, and sometimes their personality is so bland. And I feel like sometimes with girls that have had pretty privilege essentially their whole life or throughout their adolescence, and their personality is so bland, Probably because they've never really had to work on their, not because they're already confident because they know they're good looking, right? And they've never had to really work on their personality because a lot of the time they've already had that privilege of being pretty, where they've had things given to them or they've had this attention from guys, so they don't really have to work on their personalities much. But people like me, where they've felt invisible and they've been through that ugly phase and they felt ugly and misunderstood, I never had the looks department, and because I never had the looks department, that kind of forced me to work on my personality more. I didn't have much to offer in the looks, but my personality, which is what made me work towards my social skills, my confidence and whatnot. And in a way, I truly believe that me being ugly in high school is the reason why I have the personality I have now, because I didn't have, like I said, I didn't have much to offer with looks, so it kind of forced me to work on my confidence, my self-esteem in other ways, my hobbies, my habits, things like that. And that's why I genuinely believe I'm such an outgoing person, because I had to compromise in something. I lacked the department in looks, so I had to work on self-esteem and confidence in other ways, even though it took me so long, because I was not confident at all in high school. I had no confidence because I got no attention, no validation, and that really messed me up emotionally. And like, that's why I know what it's like to feel unheard, unseen, invisible, and I think that's why my personality is the way it is, because I've had to flourish in other ways. So my point is, like, you may feel ugly right now in high school and you may feel like it sucks, and it does suck. It does suck feeling that way. No one wants to feel ugly. Are you kidding? Like, you want to be the center of attention in high school, you want to be cool, you want to be popular, but I am telling you now, none of that shit matters, because there is so much more to you than the way you look. You are growing. Don't rush it. Don't try and force it. Don't rush it. The world will see your beauty when you see your beauty first, when you see your value and your worth first. And when you bloom, you will never forget what it took to get you there.